Come join Libby, Molly, and Tiffany, the ladies of Consignment Chats, where we talk about all things consignment.
Hey, ladies.
Hello.
Hey. Oh,
Great.
good.
Excellent.
Welcome to episode 35 of Consignment Chats, also known as CChats. It's another CChats Spotlight. I think we all agree it's like our favorite?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, love it.
Love
Yes.
it. I know. I just love, it's just always so inspiring. And I leave every one of these like just ready to roll with inspiration because you always learn something new from somebody. So today our CChat Spotlight blah, 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 is Liz O'Kane. So I'm not going to tell you about her businesses. I'm sure several of you have heard of her. I kind of want to say she's a bit famous, especially.
I was just going to say,
Right?
She's like an eBay celebrity.
Especially most recently, but we're not going to get into those deets yet because we need to bring her on and we're going to let her share more about her. So are you ladies ready?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Let's go.
So hi, Liz. Welcome. And,
Hi, Libby. Hi.
This is just wonderful to have you. Thank you. I'm glad we could all sync up with times.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So a little bit about how we met, and I, got interested in what you were doing. Liz Perfectly in the group.
Yeah.
I would see you comment, and Tiffany would see you comment. You're always so positive and uplifting, and right around the time that we started CChats, you started the Seller Community Podcast with Liz Perfectly and Snoop Dougie, Doug Smith, right? Doug Smith?
Yes.
Yeah. I just call him Snoop Dougie. I don't know. I just love that.
You gotta.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I just have been like a super fan of the podcast and everything you're doing there.
That is well, first, thank you. And I just remember like, it was all about the same time. And that's exactly what I noticed about Consignment Chats and Molly, Tiffany, and Libby is the positive posts, helping the community. And that's what really stuck out to me because in my mind, I'm like, I need to meet these ladies and I need to see what they're doing because I don't do consignment, but consignment pops up all the time in groups. So I started following you and I learned you're more than just consignment. You are seller community, which is super cool. We're all in the same space doing the same thing, but in different places, but all coming together.
Yeah.
Right. And we do focus, I think, more on consignment than others do because our businesses are consignment, but then we have that reseller aspect of it also. So
our tagline is every seller should be consignment ready. Well, I don't know if that's our tagline, but that's what I say when I speak to other resellers.
Right.
Everybody should be ready. Whether or not they're going to do it, that's okay, but they should be ready.
Because every reseller is going to get asked sometime to sell something for somebody else.
Yeah.
Look at those. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I am not a consignment seller, but have I been asked? Yes. Have I done it? Yes. Have I failed? Yes. Could I have used the advice of Consignment Chats? Absolutely. Where were you 4 years ago for me?
That's why we did this, right? We were looking, and Tiffany and I would, not meet up, but we would chat occasionally and be like, is there any like resources out there really that are good for consignment resellers? And I was like, no, let's start one.
Yeah. So Liz, how did the Seller Community Podcast come about?
So the Seller Community Podcast, oh my gosh. So Doug and I met, he worked at eBay. We met at eBay Open 2019 and we talked about some Meetup stuff, which, we could talk about a bit, kind of going back and forth. But after we met and we talked about Meetup stuff with eBay, he's a podcaster. He did the eBay for Business podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I was a little bit interested in podcasting about a year or two ago. And, I said, hey, would you mind giving me an hour of your time to talk to me about podcasting? And he's like, sure. So we set up a call and I kind of asked him the ins and outs, kind of what goes into it. And I said, Doug, thank you so much for your time. this sounds amazing, but that is way too much work for me to take on. See you another day. Right? I'm like, sounds like a lot of work. Like, he just was totally real with me. And then he started selling. So he would, occasionally text me, hey, how do you handle the shipping? Or what does this mean when people say this? And I thought, and that totally blew my mind, because I was like, well, you worked at eBay, but he wasn't on the sell side of it.
Right.
So we got to know each other in that aspect. And he approached me. He's like, Liz, okay, I know you talked about a podcast and it was too much work for you, but I want to do a podcast and I want to do something about selling. You have the selling knowledge. I have the podcasting knowledge. What do you think? And I was like, let's schedule a call and talk about it. So we talked about it and we're like, this is a great idea. And I happen to know Clara from List Perfectly. And we were chatting one day. I was like, oh my gosh, do you remember Doug? I think we're going to start this podcast. We're going to meet. And she's like, can you please do it? List Perfectly's in. What do you want? What, like, what, this is, what do you guys need? And List Perfectly will have your backs.
Wow.
And that's how the podcast became to be.
Wow. That's crazy amazing.
Yeah.
Right,
and it was like an overnight thing.
Wow. Right people, right places, right time.
And sometimes you don't want too much time to think about something because you'll never do it, right?
Exactly. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about podcasting, but I know how to talk.
Well, and you have a great podcast voice. You really have a very good podcast voice. When I listen to you, it's just very, it's a great voice. So
thank you.
So you had mentioned your eBay meetup, but tell us about that, what that is. And
yeah, so eBay helps, I shouldn't say sponsor, but there are official eBay meetups across the country. Numerous states, any seller can start a meetup. Ours came about, we had a local one, a great local one. And as you run meetups, you learn that it's hard to do because there's a lot of people coming together in a local area in person. The one that we had here, I had a hard time making the days. So back up to eBay Open 2019, a couple of other seller friends that were in the local area, and I happened to mention, I think when I met Doug, hey, we live here, we go to meetups, it's hard to get to. And little did we know that eBay was on an expansion they were doing more of a seller outreach. They wanted more meetups. They wanted to be more involved in the seller community and what sellers were doing on their own. So it was just a quick numbers exchange. Hey, yeah, I'm like, yeah, these are eBay people. They're not going to talk to Liz, whatever. But yeah, sure, whatever. Well, like the next week after eBay Open, we were on a phone call with Brian Burke. Hey, are you interested in starting this meetup? What's your idea for this? And it's really just about getting local sellers together. It's not about selling anything. It's not about buying anything. It's about great minds coming together and sharing your experiences. So we were able to do that fairly fast. The unfortunate part was we got off to a great start and COVID hit like 3 meetings into it.
Oh, you were only 3 meetings into it. Wow.
Yeah, we only had 3, maybe 4 in-person meetings before we couldn't do in-person meetings anymore.
So have you continued that through Zoom?
So at the beginning of everybody shutting down, we gave it a couple weeks and, eBay reached out to the meetup coordinators and were like, hey, if you want to do Zoom, we can give you support. Let us know what you need to keep your meetups going. And I think that's I think it's very important that people know that about eBay. Mm-hmm. I know I sell on all the platforms. eBay is my, from your last podcast, who was it that said that eBay brought me to the dance? Or what was it?
Paula, yes, we love that.
Yes. So kind of that, like my love is there, but I do sell across platforms. But eBay is the only one. I mean, they foster the community so much, and people need to hear that. So yeah, they reached out there like, hey, what do you need? We will get Zoom meetings set up, and they did that, and we went pretty strong the first couple of months, and then participation started dwindling. I think people got into a routine of their new norm.
Yeah.
And I did too. I did too. And I think selling became seller community became more accessible during the pandemic.
Yes,
It really did.
definitely
And that's not saying that it killed, but it has, like, I've probably done maybe one a quarter via
Okay,
Zoom.
yeah.
And I share the responsibility with I share the responsibility with another co-host that we do this. So just trying to get us together and get everybody else together into a Zoom meeting on top of everything else that we're doing nowadays online. But yeah, we're trying to plan for our next in person, which I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do all this, you build community, you do a podcast, I have a list here of like all the things you do. You run the meetup. You're very active in lots of Facebook groups supporting other sellers. And
I got to throw one in there. You interview eBay CEOs and
right.
I toss that one out there too while you're going down the list.
So your business, Colorado Reworn, tell us a little bit about that. And I mean, that's probably the crux of it. That's
What started it all.
Yeah. So I was active duty Air Force. I retired after 23 years. At about 2002, I had my son. I had maternity clothes. I had baby clothes. I had heard of this place called eBay where you can make some money. I needed to clear stuff out. Wasn't going to have any more babies. And I'm like, oh, let me fire up my dial up, go cook dinner, wait for it to get online, post a picture. And really, I sold my son's clothes and my maternity clothes for almost double what I paid for them new.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, hey, this is a great way to make a little bit of side money. And I continued that until I retired. So I was always on again, off again, always part-time. Probably the last, so like 2014, 15, even though I was active duty, I still had a full-time job. I was really hitting eBay harder because of the community. I could, I had friends that were full-time. So I was like, this is kind of viable. Like through the community, I was able to see, hey, this is like a business. This isn't, you can make this into a business, I should say. And really that's where it started. When it came time for me to retire, I started doing my CV and looking at jobs and putting in resumes and setting up interviews, and the thought of going to another 9 to 5, I was tired. Mentally, physically, I was tired. Like my son was starting high school. We had made so many moves. I didn't want to move again. And I really just wanted to stay home. And I was like, I see other successful sellers doing this, helping other successful sellers build their business. I can do this too. And it just took off from there.
Yeah, it's a big leap to make. And I know I probably had, like, even though we were selling online, I still, in my mind, it didn't click that I could actually make a full-time living and support my family doing this. Like, I figured I needed something else. And it really was that community that said, oh yeah, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. And it was great. So, all right, this is the question that people really, really want to know. You have so much going on. Inquiring minds want to know, how do you manage your time?
I don't. No, that's the short answer. No.
So you're just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
This is all about authenticity here.
It really is. And I'll be the first to say, like, when I first started full time, I made a schedule. Like, I am getting up at 6 a.m. From 6 to 6:30, I have coffee, check social media. From 6:30 to 8:30, I did this and that helped set a path for me. So I didn't feel lost. Right. And that changed over a 6-month course. But really my husband works outside the home. I have adult children. Only one lives at home. So my time all day is mine. Yep. Right. I have to where I know a lot of people struggle with, what's going on around them in their home, because I work from my home. I have no ambition to work outside of my home. I have no ambition to get a warehouse and employees now. Right. Like this is my happy time, my happy space. But I know that you have to treat this like a business. Mm-hmm. Right. And while I don't have that schedule written down, I do keep a calendar of, hey, this needs to get done. If I know that there is a sale or I have an opportunity for a purchase, for a bulk purchase, that goes on my calendar. Recording podcasts, that goes on my calendar. Picture days goes on my calendar. Listing times go on my calendar. And sometimes that gets away from me. So when I know, I'm like, okay, well, I have about an hour until the next thing, I will set a timer for 45 minutes and be like, I'm just going to jam and see how much I can get done in that time. It's not perfect. It doesn't work for some people, but it works for me.
I like that.
I want to throw an extra question in here. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, what is your favorite thing to sell?
You know what? Linens. I love linens.
Linen.
New and used. I don't know why. And I am like 80% clothes, right?
I was guessing that by looking behind you and what I had seen previously. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm mostly clothes. I started out all pre-owned, and during the pandemic, the opportunities for new came along. So I kind of made that shift. But still, I love something about linens. I don't know what it is. I can't explain. They're easy to picture. They're easy to describe. And it's one of my better selling categories when I have linens.
That's interesting. Okay. That's one I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
I mean, I do linens, but I can't say it's my favorite thing to sell.
It's weird. I know. Some people fawn over the Gucci and I'm like, some 60s bed linen, some Restoration Hardware, some Pottery Barn. I don't know.
Oh, that's great. Well, I know where I'm going to get my new linens now.
Right?
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So, what advice would you give to someone just starting out?
Have a schedule. I mean, that's probably what helped me the most. I mean, I have a lot, like if I were to well, it's kind of what I did, but have a schedule, know your time, and start on one platform and perfect one at a time. The biggest thing is just get started. So so there was somebody in our meetup, she had come to the meetups, all of them, for almost a year and had never listed a thing. She's like, but I'm getting ready. I'm like, you could have made $50,000 by now by getting ready. You're not going to break eBay. You're not going to break it. Just get on, list it. There's a whole community to support you. You just have to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect to start off with. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect either, anywhere, because I'm not perfect, but get started is the biggest thing. Learn from your community.
Right. Yeah.
Libby, did your blood pressure? I was to say, Libby, did your blood pressure spike when she was talking about the member being there for a year and still?
I do, because we see that I see that all the time. Like people just overthinking it just
snap pictures with your phone.
It's very frustrating for me. I mean, I hate to get frustrated with anybody, but that is one of the things that.
Yeah. I mean, don't wait around for hours hitting yourself over the head about, is this the right keyword or not? Just list it. Just list it and learn. You can go back and edit it later. It's okay.
Because you're going to make mistakes no matter how much you prepare, I think.
Absolutely.
You will.
Going to do it.
You will. Absolutely. So get started. That's the hardest part.
I like it.
I love that saying that I think Zig Ziglar says that quote, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Mm-hmm. And I just love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So in your business and your e-commerce endeavors, what are you most proud of?
Really the most proud, I think that I've done it, right? And that I've stuck it out. But honestly, when you dig into that, it's really that I've been flexible. So much has changed over the years, and being able to be flexible. There was a point in time where the community was not this large, and it was a very small community. Mm-hmm. And then the community only morphed into like 2 or 3 communities. And I found myself in a negative community. Everything's wrong. I can't believe they're changing this. And I got caught up in that. But I was able to see that wasn't helping me. Right. So I was able to make the shift and say, no, there's a reason for the growth. There's a reason for the change. I don't do things in my life the same way I did 10 years ago. Why would an e-commerce site that's growing year over year, stagnate also? So really being able to grow and, take the punches as they come along, and, as customers change, being able to accommodate my store to that. Mm-hmm. When I started selling,
the one thing that's constant is change. Like it's always going to be different, and you can hit that roadblock or you can figure out a solution.
Yeah, when I started selling, I mean, well, even when I started selling, and I hate part-time versus full-time, but when I had a full-time job outside of the home and I still sold, you know, 200-300 items, I was no returns. I was 5-day handling or 3-day handling because I didn't know when I could make it to the post office. I was on a tighter profit margin. So it's like, oh, I was so afraid of the returns because I was buying into that, right? And that's okay. That's a normal fear. But that was fine 8 years ago because half of the people had the same business model. But nowadays, it's not okay for me if I want to stay ahead because so many sellers are embracing the same or 1-day shipping and the 30-day returns, to where if I did the same business model as 8 years ago, I would be falling so far behind. So being able to flex my business to buyer needs, you know, I think that that's kind of a strength of a lot of sellers, even though it's scary. Even though it's
Yeah.
scary.
It is. It is.
Good
Yeah.
advice.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you on your up and running grant. And so tell us a little bit about that and how you're going to use that, because that was such an honor. And I was just so excited that you were one of the winners.
You and me both.
More deserving person that was more supportive of the community to win that and get out there. I shouldn't say win, I should say to earn that grant and to get out there and be such a positive force in the community. So tell us a little bit about how you're using that.
Yeah, so, I mean, they announced the grants. I started to apply, put my laptop away. I told a handful of friends about it. And I was like, oh, hey, yeah, this grant. And then I forgot about it. And then a friend's like, oh, yeah, I finally finished my grant. And I was like, oh, I got to finish mine. Right. And really, it was just being true. It was just me like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I could use the money for. And that was, I think, back last November, October. I can't even remember now. September. Honestly, like I finished up the grant. I closed my laptop and I forgot about it. I got an email saying, hey, we'd like to talk to you a little bit more about your application, yada, yada, yada. And that was kind of in the wording of the standard process, like, we're going to contact. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then it was, hey, you're a grant winner. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know how the process went. But at the end of the day, it still blows my mind. I still can't believe it. Like, I'm still pinching myself. I don't even understand how or why. But it happened and I'm grateful for it. But I was able to use that money really to make those bulk purchases because at the time, so this was back, oh my gosh, when did they announce? January, March? I can't even remember anymore. February. It was February.
2021, right? Yeah.
It was February. Because it was announced the day that our first podcast dropped.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God.
That was a really big day for celebrating.
It was like, I know a friend of mine, so Teresa Cox, she calls February 17th Lizzo Day. She's like, that's Lizzo Day. I have it on my calendar. But
I love it.
It was pretty crazy. There was a lot going on. So it was announced in February. So I think that they told me in January. I had to keep my mouth shut, right? But during that whole time, things were still kind of opening up. Things were a little bit crazy. Even retail arbitrage was a little bit crazy. But I was able to be more confident and make a bigger bulk purchases. For my store, I just found that was just an easier and faster way for me to scale. I was able to get some equipment that I've been wanting, just the little things that you're like, oh, I wish I had that. And then you just don't get it because we're cheap. I don't know. I'm cheap, right? Well, thanks. But then
that's okay. I waited 9 years to get a photo set up. 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of envy for that setup right over there that I see in this outside there that you have.
Oh yeah, that looks good, Liz.
Yeah, I have a little one of those.
So the desk that I had was my son's homeschooling desk from 6th grade. That's the desk I was working on. So it was like a kid-sized desk. It's like, yeah, we need to grow up a little bit here. I've been doing this for a really long time. No, but yeah, I was able to get the equipment that really just to help my processes be faster. Because sometimes it's just about improving your process versus selling more stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it just makes things go faster so you can get more done. And I have a little bit. My son that lives here, been able to pay him a little bit to get some pictures going for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's great. It's a family business. It always ends up a family
know.
business in some form or another. We see that across the board, it seems. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I always brag that my son is a consignment shopper, and now he's got his college buddies, and he'll call me. He's like, "Oh, we're hitting the consignment shops today. We need a new, their fraternity will be having something going on." And so they want to shop the consignment. I'm like, "Oh, that's my boy. That's my boy."
Oh, my son just moved to Chicago 2 weeks ago to start grad school, and his entire apartment, besides his bedroom, is all, from thrift, from consignment, from the
Pre-loved.
tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that on the Seller Community podcast, and I was like, "Oh, that must be one proud
yeah.
mama."
I know.
Yeah. He's like, why would I spend money on the new stuff and have it go to landfill? We'll save this and we'll keep going.
We all have our parent pride. My kid doesn't drink and drive. My kid's got a smart girlfriend. My kid shops consignment and thrift.
I know. And you know what? It is the generation too.
Yes.
It really is.
It is
and I think that that's amazing for that.
I do too.
That the younger generation is more aware,
more conscious of it. I agree.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, you have shared so many amazing highlights of your own journey, some great advice. What's next for Liz?
Really, Liz is okay for now. But Liz, I think we're going to be, I need to hire somebody full time because my son is not going to do this full time. But I think next on my agenda is finding somebody to do photos. I think that's my least favorite of this job, is taking photos.
My favorite.
It's so weird, right? I'm sick. I love shipping.
Yeah,
I do too.
Tiffany does too.
Yeah.
I love shipping. I love listing. Yeah. So that, we'll probably be looking into that as he explores jobs outside of the home.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Wow. Well, I know I speak for all of us ladies, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and the many, many arms that you have out there to spend this time with us and let us personally learn more about you, but also our followers and listeners get to know you better. And we're going to link up. Libby, what kind of things are you going to link up for us?
Oh my gosh, Liz, you have so much going on. So I'm going to leave it up to Liz. She's going to send us what she would like us to link up. Of course, we're going to link up the Seller Community podcast.
Yeah.
Colorado Reworn.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you want us to share with our listeners?
Yeah, Seller Community Podcast. You can catch Doug and I every Wednesday. And really, my Instagram, Colorado Reworn, there's a link tree with all the other stuff in that link tree.
All right. Well, we'll link that to this 100%. So
wonderful.
Thank you, Molly, Tiffany, Libby, so much. I had a great time.
Thank you, Liz. We appreciate it. We'll have you back sometime.
Thank you.
And hopefully meet in person as well.
Yes. That'll be the good time, right?
Yeah.
I think Liz would do great in an unscripted episode.
Oh, we would have fun in an unscripted.
Yeah.
We like that.
Doug has to edit so much. I was so afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, can I pull this off without having an edit?
You did great. We'll have you anytime.
Thank you. Yeah,
anytime.
Great.
I always tell him, I'm like, sorry, Doug. And he told me to tell you, we recorded this morning. He told me to tell you hello from Snoop Dougie.
Oh, well, you tell him hello. We love listening to him, and you. We love it.
Thank you. And the same. Thank you for all you do.
All right. Well, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
good day.
Bye, ladies. Oh my gosh. How wonderful was that?
Oh my gosh.
It's just amazing.
Everything and more. And I tell you, she has got a good podcast voice. I need to work on mine.
We can all learn from Liz for sure.
Yes, in so many different ways. But wow, I just loved hearing more about her. I knew some about her, but it's nice to hear more.
Yes.
And I love that she's an active part of our community, right? I mean, we love sharing her stuff. I know she shares ours, as we mentioned, but it's wonderful having her in our community. And speaking of that, Tiffany, what's going on over there in the CChats community?
Well, I just wanted to say about the spotlights is that I'm just so excited about always meeting all these great women, entrepreneurs that are really kicking butt, like
Absolutely.
it's just really motivational.
They have been all women so far. I know that. I don't think that was intentional.
Definitely not intentional.
No.
I mean, how great that we get to do that, but I hadn't really thought about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting point. Sure.
We did a live YouTube, if you don't know, talking all about what we learned in eBay Open.
Oh yeah, check it out. It's really like we relate it back to how it can help you as a reseller and how, what that means for consignment and online resellers. So if you didn't get to eBay Open, check out our recap. I think you'll find some interesting tips in there.
Yeah,
I think it's great because we're all pumped up going into it because we had just literally ended it and went live. So we're pumped.
we did. And evidently the hashtag eBay Open Online, we come up in the top 10 now. If you search that, our video comes up in the top 10 of that hashtag. So
Oh, yay us.
excited about that. That's pretty cool.
Yay us.
Yeah, absolutely. So fun. So fun.
Check it out. Check out our YouTube channel if you haven't, well, obviously you're there right now if you're seeing this, but check out the other videos if you missed them.
You're listening.
There are some tutorials on YouTube that we do not have on podcasts. So for podcast listeners out there, thanks for listening via podcast. If you want more content, we do have more on YouTube that are more like screen share tutorials, that kind of thing. Just quick little, we call them quick chats.
Right.
That's right. So head over there and make sure you subscribe. And what do we say? Click that little bell so you get your notifications. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and give us a review. We need the 5 stars really helps us keep doing what we're doing and helps us in our rankings, and it's good stuff. So if you haven't done that already, and I have to tell y'all that didn't realize that I had never gone on. I had been in a different account when I was going on and thought I had left my review. I didn't. I just did my the other day. I was like, I didn't do my 5 stars, and I thought I did, but I must have done it on Nick's channel, not mine. So, anyway, shame on me. But if you guys want to connect with us, head over to consignmentchats.com, and that is the easiest way to find all the different platforms that we are located. So. Until next week.
Join our Facebook community to, talk more.
Yes.
Tiffany's our community manager. That is her official title, I think. Right, Tiffany?
We've made that official.
Yes.
She's like, I think so.
She is our community manager.
She does such a good job.
Drop the knowledge.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, ladies, until next week. Look at Libby's drinking before she's cheering. Get in here, girlfriend. Cheers.
Thanks for joining Libby, Molly, and Tiffany, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we talked about all things consignment. To learn more and keep chatting, find Consignment Chats on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and Instagram.